Welcome back to episode 6 of MovieBabble's Road to the 2021 Oscars. As always, I'm your host, Brennan. I'm here with Nick. It's a long award season. I think it's been like 3 weeks since we chatted, but we do have a lot of fun stuff to get into today. So firstly, Nick, how's it going?
Brennan, I come to you today with $20 less in my pocket after finally watching The Father, which is, I'm sure, great news for literally everyone on film Twitter who is looking forward to hearing my thoughts on that movie. I've finally seen it, and I'm good. It's good. Movie's depressing, but I'm good.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, honestly. And so I saw it a while back, but I mean, it was just funny. That was the movie this year that everyone was saying was the fake movie, right? Like it was getting all these nominations. I was like, it's not even real. Like no one's seeing it. Who's seen this? But finally now people are getting to watch it. Audiences are getting to watch it. They're loving it. I think it has the highest IMDb score of all 8 nominees by a lot too. So it's definitely knocking some people on their butt there. It's a really good movie.
It's kind of like this year's The Wife, which is kind of funny because The Wife and now The Father. And I think that movie was also released by Sony Pictures Classics. So I guess they just need to figure out their awards like structure a little better, because I don't know. I mean, I feel like it might not come up much in these conversations, but I feel like The Father should be a bigger deal. And I feel like even like an editing or something like that, the editing is amazing in that movie. I feel like it could have been such a bigger contender in so many different categories if it was pushed harder. But yeah, I guess it'll have to stick with being the fake movie this year.
I agree. And you know what? It's funny because you had some of those late breaking movies like Judas, Minari, even Nomadland. Kind of, it had a long festival season, but it kind of came out on Hulu pretty late and in theaters pretty late. So they kind of got that late buzz and kind of soared. But The Father's like after the late, like it came out like after those. And like it's just kind of, it's now riding a new wave, but maybe it's too late for some things. But who knows? I think the love right now for that movie and for Anthony Hopkins' performance is through the roof. It's great to see, and I definitely am excited to just kind of keep seeing more people watch this movie. And it could, who knows, it could land big at the BAFTAs. I think that'd be fitting. I think that'd be really cool to see.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right there. And I was thinking about this after I watched it, because now I've finally watched all of the Best Picture nominees, and this crop of movies I think is terrific. It's for all the talk about this being like one of the worst years in record for the industry, this is one of my favorite Oscar years. I love a lot of these movies. Like if we're going by tried and true letterbox scoring, basically everything's above a 4 except for Trial, Chicago 7, which I've in my opinions about very clear on this podcast. But it's kind of cool. I don't know what's the cause for that. Maybe all of the like typical movies that the Academy likes to nominate just kind of are disappeared and are going to come around this year for the next year of eligibility. But I don't know, it reinvigorated me a little bit. I needed to think about that a lot because it's just we're in this kind of dead zone between the nominees and the actual award ceremony where I don't know, it was just kind of cool to think about that. I really do like a lot of these movies.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's a great crop this year, and maybe the lineup of movies outside of the Oscars isn't super deep, or maybe, as you said, there's not a lot of those, say, Academy favorites, like those studio pushed Oscar baity movies. You do have, out of these 8, I think, a ton of phenomenal pictures that were just really good, and a lot of unique movies too. You're missing some of those bigger studio movies, but we kind of get it supplemented in there with Trial, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but it's fine.
So yeah, I mean, it's a good lineup, but as you said, it's a long season. Finally, now it seems to be picking up. So firstly, we're going to jump into the PGA Awards. That's the Producers Guild Awards. Always kind of looked at as probably the most important precursor, weirdly, but it does seem to be, because it follows a ranked ballot. Pretty much every other award show is just who gets the most, but the PGA follows the ranked ballot for their winner, as does the Oscars for Best Picture. So it's definitely something that people were looking at to see if Nomadland would have maybe some people who weren't too high on it putting it low and maybe causing Trial to sneak in there, as a lot of people expected. Even some people were thinking Minari last minute could make a surge, or Promising Young Woman, but for me, it was always between Trial and Nomadland won the PGA Award. So for me, that's a huge victory for them. And I think it essentially wraps up this race for me. I don't know about you, but what do you think about that victory for them?
Yeah, I was kind of on the boat of I think Bonari has a chance for a late push here, but yeah, it doesn't really seem like that's going to happen at this point. Because even last year, we all kind of figured 1917 was going to win, but we had all these blips of Parasite kind of really taking, like, they were big at the SAG and they won basically all of these awards instead of kind of just being scattered across various awards bodies like Minari's awards been. Like, it was very clear that there was a big love for that for Parasite, and I'm not really getting that this year. So I don't know if that makes for kind of a boring night because it seems like Nomadland's going to win, but that's what it seems like it's going to be.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, we'll get into some of the other categories, but I do think Nomadland is a movie that it doesn't need to win in a bunch of other areas to get the Oscar. So I do think we'll have an interesting night in some of the other categories. I think that'll be pretty fun. But we'll see what happens. I think, especially with Nomadland, I think the night might be more interesting than the race because Nomadland isn't a powerhouse movie that wins every award. So you might have people start doubting it throughout the night when it doesn't win a bunch of things, but then it ultimately wins. But we'll see what happens. But you're right; it does seem like it's not a super exciting race for Best Picture, and really this was the last stand for anything else to really nab something from Nomadland. I guess you have the BAFTAs next week, which will be big, but this was just kind of the final blow for a lot of these movies that were maybe going to make that last push. Just kind of reading out some of your previous winners here. So 1917 won the PGA last year. Green Book won the year before. The Shape of Water won the year before that. And then La La Land and The Big Short. So they line up sometimes. Obviously, that's only 2 of the last 5 years they've lined up. But when I think about it, I think that Nomadland would be the movie that doesn't win here, and it did. So I mean, it just seems like the strength of that movie is quite clear.
Yeah, you would have thought that the PGA might have gone for something like Trial. That seems like more of a classical Best Picture pick. But yeah, them going Nomadland here just kind of about does it. So I don't really see any of these making a big case. It's kind of a bummer. It would have been fun to see Minari. I guess maybe that's a premature viewpoint by me, but it just seems like Nomadland's going to win this.
Yeah, certainly. And this is just to note, Nomadland is doing something that I never thought it would. It's one of the biggest sweeps like in a long time. So I mean, even last year, while Parasite was super strong, 1917 did do quite well most of the awards season. I believe Bong Joon-ho and Sam Mendes, they tied director of the Critics' Choice, but Sam Mendes essentially won director everywhere until Oscar night. 1917 like won the BAFTA, they won the Golden Globe. They won here, obviously, the PGA. So I mean, last year was pretty interesting because it was kind of that Parasite coming back type story, but I just don't see that here with anything. And if something did come back and take it from Nomadland on Oscar night, it'd be such a weird reversal. Because this is the type of movie that you would expect to be the one coming back. Like if I think of Nomadland, that seems like the type of movie to come back, not the one to sweep, but it is sweeping. So I just don't see anything else cracking into that. I mean, this will be the biggest sweep since really Argo. Argo pretty much won everything. It's even bigger than 12 Years a Slave because 12 Years a Slave tied the PGA with Gravity. So this is like just a massive sweep. And for me, it's crazy to think 8 years or so since a movie has gone on a roll like this, but it's happening.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what this does in terms of just viewership for the awards itself. I mean, because we're probably headed towards a very like an all-time low viewership for the Oscars anyway. But I'm wondering if people see Nomadland winning all of these awards and kind of being the de facto winner here. I wonder if that even just decreases it more. So I guess our boy Steven Soderbergh has a lot on his plate to make this worth watching.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I think he'll make it interesting. I think he'll do something different this year. I mean, obviously it's going to be different anyways, COVID, but I do I do think he'll do something good here. And yeah, you're right. I think it's something that is kind of the elephant in the room that yeah, this is going to be the worst few Oscars ever, but they're not going to be alone. I think you across television overall, things are down, and you wouldn't expect it with COVID. You would expect it to go up, but really it's gone down. I think the Super Bowl had their worst in 20 years. I think the NBA All-Star Game was the worst ever. The Globes had their worst in a long time or ever. The Grammys dropped like 50% from last year, so it's really not like I think the Oscars would be happy to drop 30%. I think they'd be happy to lose 30% from last year. Um, So it's a tough thing, but especially with these movies, I love this lineup as we've said, but I don't think they're the movies that draw mainstream audiences as much as last several years have. And I think you would agree with me there. But I am happy to see these things getting recognized, and I will certainly remember these Oscars for that. But yeah, I'm glad we're having a year like this. Even if the viewers are down, I'm glad we're having a year like this because it was a bad year for everyone last year, COVID-19, even into this year still. But I'm movie wise, I'm satisfied.
Yeah, it'll be a noteworthy Oscars for a number of reasons, some more obvious than others. But I still think there are a lot of good things here. Obviously, the diversity of all the nominees has been well discussed, and I think that's terrific. It's just, yeah, I think all these movies are very interesting. They're far more personal, obviously, because a lot of these bigger budget movies were pushed. And I like that. I think that's interesting. Personally, those are the movies I identify with more often and return to. So I think that there's a lot to like in here. I think there are plenty of silver linings to be found, even though, yeah, it's gonna Union Station Oscars might be a little shaky, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, the bottom line is, would Paul Raci get nominated any other year? Like that's what you look at this year.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Like that's the interesting thing. That's for me. That's the thing you look at this year. That's different from the rest. Someone like that in a movie like that, playing in a role like that, very raw. Great to see him get in, and you just wouldn't see it any other year. So let's move on from that PGA win. So Soul won for animation. Very typical. They've matched up now 5 years in a row, the PGA and the Oscar winner for animated feature. And then My Octopus Teacher has won Best Documentary, which changes that race. Certainly, Time was one that people were thinking would be the front runner. Even Collective or Crip Camp are kind of have a good shot here, but My Octopus Teacher winning at the PGA is a real boost for that film, and I would not be surprised if it now wins on Oscar night.
Yeah, this one's, I feel like it's a little tougher, right? Because we only have 2 of the nominations with Time and My Octopus Teacher. But I think it is really interesting. And I actually just caught up with My Octopus Teacher, which I said to say I don't think is a very good documentary. But it does. I feel like it does make sense in why it's doing well. Because even Time is a very harrowing, tough movie to get through. And I haven't seen Collective yet. That's one of the few ones I still want to check out. But that as well seems like a very heavy movie. And My Octopus Teacher is just an hour and 20 minutes of the South African dude becoming friends with an octopus. It's super sweet. I guess you can take a few things from just nature and our natural ecosystems from it. And I think that, it didn't really resonate with me, but it seems like the emotion that movie goes for is definitely working on a lot of different people. So I think it does have a really good shot. You look at the rest of the nominees at the Oscars, and it's definitely the most buzzy of them all. It's the one that has been seen by the most people. Definitely, maybe Crip Camp is second to that. But yeah, it seems like this might become the front runner now.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's tough to go off sometimes because the last 2 PGA winners weren't even nominated for Oscars, right?
Yeah.
Apollo 11 last year, and then Won't You Be My Neighbor the year before. Very deserving, but they weren't even nominated for Oscars in the end. So it's a weird kind of contrast. The documentary branch there, and just everything with the academies is so different from what the rest of the industry looks for sometimes. But this year there was a little bit more lineup there, and My Octopus Teacher winning here at the PGAs, to me, I think does put it in a good spot. But yeah, I think it's certainly going to be interesting to see what happens. I haven't caught up with any of the 5, I don't think. So I do want to try to do that. And they're all pretty accessible, I believe, right? Crip Camp's on Netflix, Octopus Teacher Netflix, and then Time's on Prime.
And I think Collective is on Hulu. I think. I don't know if The Mole Agent is available anywhere. I think it's definitely available to rent, but yeah, they are pretty available. But I still remember because I had My Octopus Teacher was not on my radar whatsoever. Oh, and my Mole Agent is on Hulu as well. I just looked it up. Okay. But My Octopus Teacher was not on my radar at all. And then people were going nuts about it. It seemed like it made like waves on like the Today Show, like it literally like reached like the most like wide audience as possible, and people were going nuts for this thing when it first came out. So maybe I've underestimated it a little bit. I always kind of thought it was going to be either Collective, Crook Camp, or Time as like the three in this category that were looking really good. But I guess I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of trailers, and for me, interestingly enough, I think My Octopus Teacher is the one I'd most want to watch if I had to sit down right now and watch one. I just really love the trailer. So I don't know if that says much, but that's a little note.
I mean, the octopus she's a good girl. She's a great girl, really sweet, and she's fun. And then the first few times that it does something, you might like giggle or something like that. But it's a really sweet story. It's definitely interesting. It's out there, nothing like I've quite seen before. But yeah, I didn't really connect with it, but I appear to be in the vast minority. So maybe it's for you.
Interesting. So yeah, those are the PGAs, nice and short, just those three categories there. Now we'll move on to the bigger one of kind of the last couple of weeks that we haven't really came to you guys with an episode, and that's the SAG Awards. So that was just last weekend, this past weekend here, and very important, obviously. I think the voting body on this is like 120,000. Huge voting body. Anyone with a SAG card votes, right? And I've heard they're very easy to get, apparently. So it's a big voting body.
You're trying to get into SAG, Brennan? You want those benefits?
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I mean, so we'll get into this. I think we had some interesting winners here. You had some expected winners, but then you had some very interesting ones. So it made for an interesting night, and it was only 1 hour, the show. I watched it. It completely flew by. There are a few things I would have changed if I was running it, but I'm not running it. So let's get into it. Wonder Woman 1984 wins for stunt ensemble. Tenet still getting robbed. It didn't even get nominated. But I did want to note that it got robbed. But yeah, it's a category that had Trial, had Da 5 Bloods, had Mulan. So it's something that I am not surprised about.
Yeah, neither am I. Poor Tenet. Pouring out.
I was thinking last second, like, maybe they go to 5 Bloods to give them something. They've had a rough award season.
I guess not.
But no, they didn't. So yeah, and Wonder Woman also in 2017, they won this category as well. They won this award as well. So I guess it keeps with history. I
wonder what that connection is. That's weird.
Yeah, it's odd. It is.
You don't leave Wonder Woman being like, man, those stunts, they're great. I don't know. I mean, they're good, but they're not like, I don't know. They're not what you think of when you watch those movies.
Yeah, they're not fighting backwards. That's what I've seen a lot of tweets. So like, they didn't learn how to do fight scenes backwards for this.
Still, some of the best behind the scenes footage I've ever seen is Kenneth Branagh learning to walk backwards. It's one of the funniest things I've seen in my life.
That is good. That is good. So now we'll get into the kind of major ones here, because they didn't even televise the stunt category. So I guess it's not major. Poor stunts. So we'll get into supporting actor here. Daniel Kaluuya wins as expected. I really was not holding my breath for this one. I think this is just happening all season, and the different dynamic of the Oscars is obviously Lakeith Stanfield potentially splitting the vote a little, but I don't see that happening. I think if you like this movie, you're going to vote Kaluuya, and that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, I would like to see more like widespread acclaim for Judas and other categories, but it seems like Daniel Kaluuya is going to win this pretty easy. One of the better locks of the night, I think. I don't really see the Lakeith Stanfield like voter split happening very much. Like this and like Soul winning for best animated film, they just look like they're just really good locks.
Yeah, and even I think this is more of a lock than Chadwick now. I do. I think
I do too.
Chadwick,
yeah.
For me, Chadwick's a 90% lock, maybe even more. But I think there's that sliver for Anthony Hopkins, right?
Yeah.
For me
and
personally,
Riz Ahmed too. It seems like there's a big Sound of Metal hive out there, even though they're not really winning.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. I do. Yeah, I do see that as well. But certainly Chadwick's got to be a lock. But there's a sliver. But Kaluuya seems like a surefire 100%er. So I really don't see anyone winning there. He gave another good speech. He always does. He's really having a great season, and it came a day after his SNL appearance as well.
He's just Daniel Kaluuya is the best. Probably easily one of the best actors working right now, right? He's just what a guy.
And I mean, what a good weekend for him. I think we saw he got tapped for the next Jordan Peele horror movie, he's got some other animated ones coming out, right? Stephen Yeun also and Kiki Palmer also cast in that. So I mean, I'm excited.
I'm ready for that movie. I need that. Inject it in my veins right now.
Yeah, like
Ready to go.
this guy. I can't wait. So that was our supporting actor. Now, supporting actress. I was predicting Maria Bakalova here. I just felt like that would be potentially one that an acting branch would maybe like. Just it's Borat too. People enjoy that. They like it. It's funny, right? But what ended up happening was Yoo Jung Yoon won Best Supporting Actress here, and for me, she's the Oscar frontrunner. And her reaction was so priceless. It was so nice. It was a really great moment.
This category is getting interesting, man. I am fascinated to see what happens here because even though I do love Olivia Colman's work in The Father, now that I've seen it, she's probably running fifth in this category. But I think the rest of the four, like that are nominated for the Oscar, I all think have actually like a reasonable shot of winning. Something if we see like a few, I guess this is going to be early in the night when this award's given out, but if we could see some wackiness here because we've kind of seen appreciation for Bakalova, Glenn Close, Mena Seyfried, and Young Jung Yoon as well. So I don't know. I guess I might have to go Young Jung Yoon as well, but I have a sneaking suspicion that Bakalova could come away with it still. I don't know.
Yeah, it's for me, Bakalova won the Critics' Choice, right? And that was a really solid win for her. And that's the one that I kind of thought Yoo Jung Yoon would win, maybe the Critics' Choice. But it went Bakalova, and I mean, Jodie Foster won the Globe, right? Like, what is that? I mean, she didn't even get nominated for the Oscar. That breaks a 45-year streak. But it's a very exciting category. Maybe not as exciting as our Best Actress one now, but we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, for me, it's Yoo Jung Yoon. I think this was a big win for her. I think obviously the acting branch is the biggest voting branch, I believe, at the Oscars. The next hurdle, obviously, is the BAFTAs next week, where both these people are nominated. If I'm not mistaken, I know Maria Bakalova was nominated at the BAFTAs. I think Yoo Jung Yoon is as well. I do have to double check that real quick. But yeah, that'll be interesting next week to see what happens, especially considering the jury kind of changed up that category a lot, right? And Olivia Colman isn't even there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm interested because we were talking to him before we came on here, and I'm wondering if like Young Jung Yoon is like the actorly pick, like this is the one that SAG really likes. But I wonder if Maria Bakalova is the non-actor branch pick for a lot of these other people, like if she's more popular there, because it's a really goofy performance. Obviously, it's Borat 2. She's going for it. She's going crazy, and it seems like everyone just really likes her in it. I'm wondering if there's some sort of sway to her from other voting bodies. I think it's possible. I just think this is just so weird to me. I'm still bracing for Glenn Close winning as well. So I don't know. I have no idea.
I think Glenn Close losing here was I wouldn't say nail in the coffin, but she's now fallen into the coffin. Like, I just don't see, there's still a shot, but I don't see her winning now. I think this was really it. And I mean, I just looked at the BAFTA lineup there, and yeah, the only two that are at the Oscars and the BAFTAs are Yoo Jung Yoon and Maria Bakalova. So I think it's between them, with Glenn Close potentially with some sort of outside shot, really far outside shot for me. But I do think it's between them, and I will go Yoo Jung Yoon. Just I feel like that's going to be the one award that Minari picks up on Oscar night. But yeah, I'm glad. I mean, I'm happy with a lot of these nominees. I think Amanda Seyfried was great in Mank. Olivia Colman's really great as well in The Father, and Glenn Close is Glenn Close. And I think it's a good category though. And Maria Bakalova, I love her story this season. I love just her rise here and winning a Critics' Choice, just landing at all these award shows. When I watched this movie, I never would have thought in a million years this would happen. And then, what was it? Sacha Baron Cohen, I think he tweeted out, like, if Maria Bakalova doesn't get nominations this year, like, you guys are all dumb or something like that. And they're like, okay, Sasha, let's do it. And she's just been soaring, right? And it's a cool story for sure.
One of my favorite things of this awards race has been I've seen a few ads on like your IndieWires and your varieties and whatnot for it's like for your consideration for Borat 2, and they make it look like it's this really weepy melodrama, and it's like Borat is like hugging Maria Bakalova, and she has like a single tear coming down her face. It looks like it's like an amazing parody of like the worst drama that the Academy likes to nominate. It's so funny, but yeah, it's really, really bizarre. I keep thinking about how it seemed like her campaign was basically started as a meme, and then somewhere along the way, like the irony slipped away, and then everyone was like, no, actually we really hope she gets nominated, and now we're here, and it happened, and she might win. It's wild to me.
She was really good too. Like you can't take anything.
Oh, she's
away
amazing
from
in it. Yeah.
She's
It just seemed
magnetic.
like when Borat 2 first came out, everyone was like, oh, this is really goofy, ha ha ha. Like, well, like it was meme fodder, you know? And then that's not to say like it's a bad movie, because I really like it. But it seemed like there was a lot of irony about all discussions with the movie. But then it gave way to like actual awards consideration, which I think is great.
And I mean, when all is said and done, I think she can be happy. Maria can be happy in the fact that she's the most consistent nominee. She's the only one that's been everywhere. At least everyone else has missed out on at least one show. So I think, I mean, she'll take away being the most consistent nominee of this season, right? Just every single show she's been in the lineup. So it's very impressive. So that's our supporting actress. And after that win, I was thinking Minari would potentially surprise for ensemble. We'll get to that in a second. But now on to best actor. So Chadwick Boseman won. I really didn't see anyone else winning here at the SAG Awards. I think it's expected here. And the only place he potentially loses is BAFTA next week to Anthony Hopkins, but I still don't think that'll happen. Yeah, Chadwick wins again. Great performance, and another good win.
Yeah, it seems like you said, pretty good luck at this point. In this one, I mean, you have all of the Oscar nominees here, so it's very, very predictive in that sense. Yeah, he's just winning all of these, and it's great. It feels good, you know, because I mean, it's such a bummer that he died, and I really miss him and wish I could have. You get the feeling that his best movies were yet to come. You know, he was really coming into his own as a really great actor, but it feels like it's a great performance that totally deserves all these awards. So it's really nice to see all these things come together. It's a really nice story.
Certainly. No doubt about it. I do think he wins BAFTA next week. I think there's probably like Anthony Hopkins probably has a better shot there than he has anywhere else, but I do think he wins there next week. He was great, and I think he wins there, and then he goes on to triumph on Oscar night with a big award season sweep. I think that's what we'll see.
Yeah, I hope so. That'll be a really nice moment.
So now on to Best Actress. So this is the one that for me was probably the craziest of the night. Looking back on it, I guess it makes a bit more sense just in hindsight. But so we had our nominees here. I think we had Amy Adams snuck into the 5 here, but it was Amy Adams, obviously Vanessa Kirby, Frances McDormand, Carey Mulligan, and Viola Davis. And Carey Mulligan had the Gold Derby lead. People were predicting her. And, you know, Viola Davis pulled it out. So she gets a win here. I don't know if you've seen her reaction, but I think it's turned into a GIF by now. It's hilarious. She just falls out of her seat. I don't think she saw this coming, but she wins the SAG. And you know what? The reason I say in hindsight, maybe it makes more sense is this is her 6th SAG victory. I think 2 of them are ensembles, but she has won several for TV. I think this is I think she won the ensemble for The Help, and then I think she has now 3 individual for film and 2 individual for TV. But yeah, she's loved by her peers, right? Actors do love her. The industry there loves her, and it's a good performance. It's worthy, and she does win, and that really changes this race big time.
Yeah, it's for the longest time, it just seemed like Frances McDormand was penciled in as the winner, but you kind of get the sense that no one was like crazy about it. You know, it seemed like everyone was like, oh yeah, she's really good in the movie. She's Frances McDormand. She's one of the best actresses of her generation. Like, let's put her in. But slowly but surely, it's like the Promising Young Woman hive has grown, and it seems like the Viola Davis hive for Ma Rainey has also grown over time. And obviously we have it here where she wins. So it really seems like it's a 3-person race right now, with maybe Andra Day just coming in, swooping out of the rafters and surprising us all possibly. But I think that makes it more fun, because like the past few years, I feel like all the acting awards have been decided in like September. Like last year, it was like, oh yeah, Renee Zellweger Judy came out, no one saw it, but she's gonna win. And then Joker came out, and Joaquin Phoenix was the same way. Like, all right, he's gonna win. We're not gonna have any other conversations. He's winning. So it is kind of cool. Even I mean, especially on the lady side of it all, there's a lot of jostling. I wouldn't bet on any of these.
No, certainly. It's a very exciting race. And it's one of the best actress races I think we've really ever seen. And so you're saying 3-horse, you're saying what? Davis, Mulligan, and with Andrade in FR3, or is that McDormand?
Oh, I'm
Andrade
saying Davis, McDormand, Mulligan,
okay.
And then Andrade just way out there, just kind of chilling. Maybe she comes in, but I don't really see her as being much of a choice here.
And then let me pitch to you. A week from now, Vanessa Kirby wins the BAFTA. What do you do?
I just stopped podcasting. I shutter MovieBabble. We're done.
I mean, she's a British actress. Maybe she's overdue with this award season. Who knows? But if that happens, we'll see a different winner everywhere, right? And that puts her into the Oscar race, certainly, because right now I think she's running in 5. But if she wins BAFTA next weekend, which, I mean, you look at it, the only 2 overlapping are Frances McDormand and Vanessa Kirby, Oscars and BAFTA. So you don't even have a chance for Viola Davis to win the BAFTA and or Carey Mulligan. So it could happen. I think the BAFTA is between McDormand and Kirby just because they're the only 2 overlapping ones. So it's going to be either one of them, in my opinion. And that means we have a different winner everywhere going into a crazy Oscar night.
Sure, why not? It makes it more fun, right? Because we have No Man Land penciled in to win. So it seems like where all the drum will be and be all these other categories. So I think it's cool. Like, it's just like, it was just so boring. Like, even like the Parasite thing was so amazing, but even just like, it was not even a discussion. It was Renee Zellweger's winning and Joaquin Phoenix is winning. And I like both those actors, but it just wasn't very fun to talk about.
Yeah. It was all 4 last year that matched up the entire season, right? Brad Pitt swept everywhere.
That too. Yeah. And Laura Dern.
Yeah. Even despite, I mean, Laura Dern was even more penciled than Brad Pitt, but even Brad Pitt, despite, I mean, Pesci had like a bit of a push when that came out, but then it died really quick and Pitt won everything. So, I mean, all 4, right? So this year to see, especially as you said on the ladies side here, just a lot of different winners. I think we've seen a different winner now for both categories everywhere almost. Yeah, we have. So it's exciting, right? It's we've had Day at the Globes and Pike at the Globes for the comedy and drama, and then Carey Mulligan Critics' Choice, and now Viola Davis SAG. I mean, it's awesome. And if I had to bet between McDormand or Kirby for the BAFTA next week, I don't really know. I really don't know. I mean, you got to pull up some of the other nominees here, but I mean, Alfred Woodard's there, right? For Clements, yet I don't see that happening. Rhoda Blank, I don't see that happening. We have the lead actress in Rocks there. I don't see these movies winning the BAFTA, right? I don't feel like they're as widely watched as Nomadland and Pieces of a Woman. So I just think it's between those 2 next week, and it just sets up a crazy Oscar night for that category.
Yeah, I think, it's just, Vanessa Kirby's really good in that movie, but I feel like the same with Andrade in the United States versus Billie Holiday. Like the movie itself just isn't very good. I mean, I guess I'd recommend Pieces of a Woman, but it's just not very well put together in my mind. So I think that's been like the biggest deterrent to her, but it would be great. I just want chaos to rain down. Now that I think about it, why not?
Yeah, and I mean, if it is Kirby, I think it's a 5-way race because McDormand could always win with the Nomadland love, right? But who knows? I'm excited to see what happens. So I'll move on to ensemble now, and we had The Five Bloods, One Night Miami, Minari, Trial, and Ma Rainey. Ensemble was like the weirdest roller coaster because going into it, I had Trial. I think it's the big cast. It's the obvious choice. It's what you'd expect. But then you had Yoo Jung-yoon win supporting actor. So I'm like, oh, Minari might actually sneak in here. Then you had not only Chadwick, but Viola Davis as well. I was thinking, oh, maybe Ma Rainey's going to sneak in here and win 3 SAG Awards. But it ended up being Trial at the Chicago 7. So congrats, Trial, for having the biggest cast.
Yeah, how does that work? You gave 2 awards to the same movie, and then you don't give them the ensemble. I guess how do they figure that? It's just is it just biggest cast? I don't know.
No, if I'm a voter, I wouldn't vote for trial, but I would vote for the Five Bloods personally, or Minari. But I think when you get that sheet and you look at the names, because I saw the nominees and I saw the names, and I think Minari had like 6 names. I think like One Eye Miami had like 6. Ma Rainey had like 6 or 7. The Five Bloods had like 8 or 9, and then trial had like 15. I feel like it's overwhelming on the paper when you see that potentially. Maybe that plays into it. But yeah, so trial wins here. I don't think personally it's a sign of life. I think it's something that all season was probably the obvious choice. So I don't think this is a reinvigoration for trial to go on and win Best Picture. I won't speak too soon, obviously, but I just don't see it being this big comeback story off a SAG ensemble win.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, you have Michael Keaton showing up for like 4 minutes in that movie. That's wild stuff. Yeah, I don't really see it either. It's, I guess, good for all those people. I like all the people in this movie, except for Eddie Redmayne's performance. You knew it. Yeah, like he's like, I'm sorry, he's not good in that movie. It's fine. We're here. But yeah, good for all those people. They did great stuff. Proud of them.
One thing I did want to quickly shout out there was a tweet I saw from Matt Neglia over at Next Best Picture. And he tweeted out Michael Keaton could be like the secret, like special ingredient to getting your Oscar, because what we had Birdman and Spotlight win Best Picture after winning SAG ensembles. And now we have Trial sneaking in there. I don't know. We'll see, but very different movies, those two, obviously, than Trial. It hasn't really been winning all season, and this is like the only time it's really had a big win, right? Like they won screenplay at Golden Globes. That's it.
Yeah, I can't remember. I mean, listen, everything's better with Michael Keaton, so that logic tracks in my mind. So, yeah, it's probably not going to win. This is, I think you're right, where it's like the amount of famous people in this movie is very overwhelming. And it seems like SAG, they kind of shift towards like fairly famous people who are giving showy, but also still really like solid performances. So I feel like that in that case, this makes a lot of sense. But
yeah, it doesn't feel like a Parasite win, right? Parasite won ensemble last year, and that felt big. It just felt like there was now the industry does have a wide love for this movie. It just doesn't feel the same. I think like all season we expected this, whereas Parasite was kind of like a movie that jumped in at the last second to win SAG. So yeah, for me, it just doesn't seem like it. But those are your SAG awards. Any big takeaways from you?
I do think we're headed towards kind of what we said at the top, where it's going to be a very diverse list of winners from all different, like just all these different movies. I mean, I'd be surprised if any movie took home more than like 4 wins in any of the categories. I really think it's going to be spread around, and like Nomadland will probably get director and picture at the end, but I think a lot of these will get at least 1 win, except for maybe like Mank, because no one seems to like Mank anymore. I feel like I'm the only person who likes that movie.
I think Mank takes production design, and that's it. So 1
maybe.
for 10, in my opinion.
So I think there's a really good chance. I think that's kind of cool, honestly. I feel like the Academy has been moving towards that in the past few years. I think that's neat, because it's also just boring when like La La Land wins 10 times or whatever, how many times it won. Because I mean, I like that movie, but it's also just like there was clearly better work in other movies and things. So it is cool when they kind of spread the wealth around. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a few weird ones. I'd love to talk about just something just off the wall happening, but we'll see.
It could happen, certainly. It could happen for sure. So I'm looking forward to it. So before we do wrap up, we'll shoot out kind of what we got coming up. So we got the DGAs and the BAFTAs next weekend. So that's big. So we'll have a show on that. The Directors Guild, obviously, that's on the Saturday. Then the British Academy on the Sunday. If Chloe Zhao wins the DGA, which she's been winning director awards everywhere, that for me moves to another one of those like Soul or Kaluuya type categories where it's just a complete lock. And then obviously Chadwick winning the BAFTA would put me there as well. So I'm excited for that. And then we got the Oscars on the 25th. So finally the season's starting to go, and we've got 3 weeks left and we're all done.
Right. It feels like it's been forever. And it's already April, and then we're going to talk about like the first big Oscar like announcement with some big movie that comes out in the summer. It's turning into too much work.
Yeah,
I might be done after this.
It's busy. Yeah, we got to take a little hiatus, but yeah, so that's what we got going. Anyways, though, thanks a lot for coming on. Another great episode, and we'll be back super soon. But yeah, thanks again, Nick, for coming on.
Pleasure as always.
Certainly. You can check out our content, obviously, on moviebabble.com. We got the Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We got it all. So definitely check that out. And we'll be back next week talking more awards.